Save that it faced in the opposite direction, the other cabin resembled the first in almost every detail. Here too were seated some dozen men, all experienced soldiers of fortune by their features and their clothing. Two sat together at the centre of the table's starboard side. One was bare-headed, fair and careworn. The other had features resembling Elric's own, and he seemed to be wearing a silver gauntlet on his left hand, while the right hand was naked. His armour was delicate and outlandish. He looked up as Elric entered him. There was a recognition in his single eye. The other was covered by a brocade-work patch. "Elric of Melniboné," he exclaimed. "My theories become more meaningful." He turned to his companion. "See, Hawkmoon, this is the one of whom I spoke." "You know me, sir?" Elric was nonplussed. "You recognise me, Elric? You must. At the tower of Voilodian Gagnastiak with Irikose, though a different Irikose." "Well, I know of no such tower. No name which resembles that, and this is the first I have seen of Irikose. You know me and you know my name, but I do not know you. I find this disconcerting, sir." I too had never met Prince Coram before he came aboard, said Irikose, yet he insists we fought together once. I am inclined to believe him. Time on the different planes does not always run concurrently. Prince Coram might well exist in what we would term the future. I had thought to find some relief from such paradoxes here, said Hawkmoon, passing his hand over his face. He smiled bleakly. But it seems there is none at this present moment in the history of the plains. Everything is in flux, even our identities, it seems, are prone to alter at any moment. We were three, said Coram. Do you recall it, Elric? The three who were one? Elric shook his head. Coram shrugged, saying softly to himself, Well, now we are four. Did the captain say anything of an island we are supposed to invade? He did, said Elric. Do you know who these enemies might be? We know no more or less than you do, Elric, said Hawkmoon. I seek a place called Tanalorn and 2 children. Perhaps I seek the runestaff too, I'm not entirely sure. We found it once, said Coram, we three, in the tower of Voilodian Gagnastiak. It was of considerable help to us. Well, as it might be to me, Hawkmoon told him. I served it once. I gave it a great deal. We have much in common, Irikose put in. As I told you, Elric, perhaps we share masters in common too. Elric shrugged. I serve no master but myself. He wondered why they all smiled in the same strange way. Irikose said quietly, In such ventures as these one is inclined to forget much as one forgets a dream. This is a dream, said Hawkmoon. Of late I've dreamed many such. Well, it is all dreaming if you like, said Coram, all existence. Elric was not interested in such philosophizing. Dream or reality, the experience amounts to the same, does it not? Quite right, said Irikose with a wan smile. They talked on for another hour or two until Coram stretched and yawned and commented that he was feeling sleepy. The others agreed, and they were all tired, and so they left the cabin and went aft and below where there were bunks for all the warriors. As he stretched himself out in one of the bunks, Elric said to Brute of Lashmar, who had climbed into the bunk above, It would help to know when this fight begins. Brute looked over the edge, down at the prone albino. I think it will be soon, he said. Elric stood alone upon the deck, leaning upon the rail and trying to make out the sea. The sea, like the rest of the world, was hidden by white, curling mist. Elric wondered if there were waters flowing under the ship's keel at all. He looked up to where the sail was tight and swollen at the mast, filled with a warm and powerful wind. It was light, but again it was not possible to tell the hour of the day. Puzzled by Coram's comments concerning an earlier meeting, Elric wondered if there had been other dreams in this life, such as this might be, dreams he had forgotten completely upon awakening. But the uselessness of such speculation became quickly evident, and he turned his attention to more immediate matters, wondering at the origin of the captain and his strange ship sailing on a stranger ocean. "The captain," said Hawkmoon's voice, and Elric turned to bid good morning to the tall, fair-haired man who bore a strange, regular scar in the centre of his forehead, "has requested that we four visit him in his cabin." The other two emerged from the mist, and together they made their way to the prow, knocking on the reddish-brown door and being at once admitted into the presence of the blind captain, who had 4 silver wine cups already poured for them. He gestured them toward the great chest on which the wine stood. "Please help yourselves, my friends." They did so, standing there with the cups in their hands, 4 tall, doom-haunted swordsmen, each of a strikingly different cast of features, yet all bearing a certain stamp which marked them as being of a like kind. Elric noticed it. For all that he was one of them, he tried to recall the details of what Coram had said on the previous evening. "We are nearing our destination," said the captain. "It will not be too long before we disembark. I do not believe our enemies expect us, yet it will be a hard fight against those 2. "2?" said Hawkman. "Only 2? "Only 2, the captain smiled. "A brother and a sister. Sorcerers from quite a different universe than ours. Due to recent disruptions in the fabric of our worlds, of which you know something, Hawkmoon, and you too, Coram, certain beings have been released who would not otherwise have the power they now possess. Possessing great power, they crave for more. For all the power that there is in our universe. These beings are amoral in a way in which the Lords of Law or Chaos are not. They do not fight for influence upon the earth as these gods do. Their only wish is to convert the essential energy of our universe to their own uses. I believe they foster some ambition in this particular universe, which would be furthered if they could achieve their wish. At present, in spite of their conditions, highly favourable to them, they have not attained their full strength, but the time is not far off before they do attain it. Agak and Gagak is how they are called in human tongue, and they are outside the power of any of our gods. So, a more powerful group has been summoned. Yourselves. The Champion Eternal, in 4 of his incarnations, and 4 is the maximum number we can risk without precipitating further unwelcome disruptions among the planes of Earth. Irikoze, Elric, Coram, and Hawkmoon. Each of you will command 4 others whose fates are linked with your own, and who are great fighters in their own right, though they do not share your destinies in every sense. You may each pick 4 with whom you wish to fight. I think you will find it easy enough to decide. We make landfall quite shortly now." "And you will lead us," Hawkmoon said. "I cannot. I can only take you to the island and wait for those who survive. If any survive." Elric frowned. "This fight is not mine, I think." "It is yours," said the captain soberly, "and it is mine. I would land with you if that were permitted me, but it is not." "Why so?" asked Coram. "You will learn that one day. I have not the courage to tell you. I bear you nothing but goodwill, however. Be assured of that." Irikoze rubbed his jaw. "Well, since it is my destiny to fight, and since I, like Hawkmoon, continue to seek Tanalorn, and since I gather there is some chance of my fulfilling my ambition if I am successful, I for one agree to go against these 2, Agak and Gagak." Hawkmoon nodded. "I go with Irikoze for similar reasons." "And I," said Coram. "Well, not long since," said Elric, "I counted myself without comrades, and now I have many. For that reason alone I will fight with them." "That is perhaps the best of reasons," said Irikoze approvingly. "There is no reward for this work save my assurance that your success will save the world much misery," said the captain. "And for you, Elric, there is less reward than the rest may hope for." "And perhaps not," said Elric. As you say, the captain gestured toward the jug of wine. More wine, my friends? They each accepted, while the captain continued, his blind face staring upward at the roof of the cabin. Upon this island is a ruin. Perhaps it was once a city called Tanalorn, and at the centre of the ruin stands one whole building. It is this building which Agag and his sister use. It is that which you must attack. You will recognise it, I hope, at once. And we must slay this pair, said Ericose. If you can, why they have servants who help them, and these must be slain also. Then the building must be fired. This is important. The captain paused. Fired. It must be destroyed in no other way. Elric smiled a dry smile. There are a few other ways of destroying buildings, Sir Captain. The captain returned his smile and made a slight bow of acknowledgement. Aye, it's so. Nonetheless, it is worth remembering what I have said. Do you know what these two look like, these Agag and Gagag? Coram asked. No. It is possible that they resemble creatures of our own worlds, and it is possible that they do not. Few have seen them. It is only recently that they have been able to materialize at all. And how may they best be overwhelmed? Asked Hawkmoon. Well, by courage and ingenuity, said the captain. You're not very explicit, sir, said Elric. I am as explicit as I can be. Now, my friends, I suggest you rest and prepare your arms. And they returned to their cabins. Ericose sighed. We are fated, he said. We have little free will, for all we deceive ourselves otherwise. If we perish or live through this venture, it will not count for much in the overall scheme of things. I think you are of a gloomy turn of mind, friend, said Hawkmoon. The mist snaked through the branches of the mast, writhing in the rigging, flooding the deck. It swirled across the faces of the other three men as Elric looked at them. A realistic turn of mind, said Coram. The mist massed more thickly upon the deck, mantling each man like a shroud. The timbers of the ship creaked, and to Elric's ears took on the sound of a raven's croak. It was colder now. In silence they went to their cabins to test the hooks and buckles of their armour, to polish and to sharpen their weapons, and to pretend to sleep. I've no liking for sorcery, said Brute of Lashmar, tugging at his golden beard. For sorcery it was resulted in my shame. Elric had told him all that the captain had said, and had asked Brute to be one of the four who fought with him when they landed. It's all sorcery here, Otto Blendka said, and he smiled wanly as he gave Elric his hand. I'll fight beside you, Elric. His sea-green armour shimmering faintly in the lantern light. Another rose, his casque pushed back from his face. It was a face almost as white as Elric's, though the eyes were deep and near black. And I, said Haun, serpent tamer, though I fear I'm little use on still land. The last to rise at Elric's glance was a warrior who said little during their earlier conversations. His voice was deep and hesitant. He wore a plain iron battle cap, and the red hair beneath it was braided. At the end of each braid was a small finger bone which rattled on the shoulder of his byrnie as he moved. This was Ashnar the lynx, whose eyes were rarely less than fierce. I lack the eloquence or the breeding of you other gentlemen, said Ashnar. I have no familiarity with sorcery or those other things of which you speak, but I'm a good soldier and my joy is in fighting. I'll take your orders, Elric, if you'll have me. Willingly, said Elric. There is no dispute, it seems, said Ericose to the remaining four who had elected to join him. All this is doubtless preordained. Our destinies have been linked from the first. Such philosophy can lead to unhealthy fatalism, said Turndick of Hashgan. Best believe our fates are our own, even if the evidence denies it. You must think as you wish, said Ericose. I have led many lives through all save one. I remembered but faintly. He shrugged. Yet I deceive myself, I suppose, in that I work for a time when I shall find this Tanalorn. perhaps be reunited with the one I seek. That ambition is what gives me energy, turned Eric. Elric smiled. I fight, I think, because I relish the comradeship of battle. That, in itself, is a melancholy condition in which to find oneself, is it not? Aye. Ericose glanced at the floor. Well, I must try to rest now.